Well, good afternoon, everybody. Darren Saul here, your host of Playing with Perspective, the Suspended Animation Podcast, episode 130. It's going to be a fantastic show. I have a very special guest. Peter Crewe-Brown is back. Peter was on the show in episode 39, and he's now come back for episode 130. And we're going to be talking all about how to book yourself solid, get more clients than you can handle. So, Peter, how are you?
I'm great, Darren, and I really appreciate you having me back again. I know you've got a lot of people who are keen to be on your show now that you've, I guess, developed a bit of a following, and getting a second look. I feel really privileged. So thanks for having me, and I'm keeping well. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure, Peter. I mean, when you were on the show much earlier, it was phenomenal. The feedback was exceptional. You brought so much value, and I know that we're going to do the same today. So for everybody who didn't get a chance to listen to episode 39, Peter Crewe-Brown is a business advisor and chartered accountant who helps business owners get their lives back by providing clarity. He helps his clients achieve a 20% profit increase every 6 months, provided they do the work. He uses his signature PAIR program, P-A-I-R. It addresses the 4 areas of greatest frustration to ambitious business owners working on their business: strategic planning, accountability, implementation, and review. Peter is also the Australia and New Zealand representative of Book Yourself Solid. It's the fastest, easiest, and most reliable system for getting more clients than you can handle, even if you hate marketing and selling. Now, Michael Port, New York Times best-selling author of the mega best-selling book Book Yourself Solid, created this insightful and hugely successful model for small business marketing over a decade ago. With its core philosophy of guiding service-oriented business owners to fall in love with marketing, this revolutionary system has helped over 500,000 business owners during the last decade. Peter offers a complimentary 45-minute strategy session to curious business owners who would like to learn more. So, Peter, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'm really looking forward to getting into all the content about this new Book Yourself Solid method.
Excellent. Thanks again for having me, Darren.
My pleasure. So, obviously, a little bit of a different topic to what we discussed last time, but more sales and marketing, or marketing in particular. What prompted you to start, really diving into this area and, bringing that onto the show and discussing more about it?
Well, Darren, I guess just to confirm what you said before, my core business is very much around the 4 pillars of PAIR, the planning, accountability, implementation, and review, which goes back to my roots as a chartered accountant. I worked as a CFO for a long time. One of the frustrations I've sensed, amongst the clients that I have worked with since I started working on my own in 2003, and also in my own business, has been an inability to get a steady flow of clients. Yeah. And like many people, I've chased shiny objects in the form of many different offerings from different types of marketing consultants, be it SEO or Google Ads or Facebook specialists or LinkedIn gurus, yep, and all of these things. And my experience has often been that, they show me a little thing and I'd put it in place, but I wasn't very good at the joinery because I'm not a real techie guy. Yep. And I was always struggling. So back in June, I was approached by Book Yourself Solid, and I'd known their book for the best part of 10 years, having bought it on the advice of my mentor. And when I was offered a spot on this pilot course, there was about 40 people from around the world. I jumped at the opportunity because I've loved the book and recommended it to so many people. And at the end of the 6-week pilot program, I was offered this position as the Australia and New Zealand representative of Book Yourself Solid. And because I'd been through the course, I'd had the book for 10 years, and I was offered this opportunity to be, the representative in Australia. And I knew that it worked because I'd applied it in my business since June through to now. Wow. I jumped at the opportunity and I did the training to get to the level of certified. And I've been in that position for a few months now. So you might see this as a move to marketing. I actually see Book Yourself Solid as more of a broad business system which incorporates a strong marketing component. It talks about your foundation, how to promote yourself, what your target market is, what your prime offering is, how to build trust and credibility, how to price your offering, how to have sales conversations. So there's certainly a strong element of marketing in it. It's not a marketing system on its own. It's much broader than that.
Yeah, it's a three-dimensional business health system in a way.
Yeah, and amongst other things, the very important thing that we all need as solo and boutique consultants is to get clients. And I've always struggled with it. And I thought, well, why not learn how to get really good at it and help other people put into place the things I've learned to get me more clients.
Awesome. And so what makes this book different for you? Why is this book so different from all the others out there? And why is this so special that you've embraced it in such a way?
Well, what I would say is that, as the tagline says, and I've got the book right here. There's a copy for the readers. But the tagline on the cover is the fastest, easiest, and most reliable system to get all the clients you can handle, even if you hate marketing and selling. Now, that's a very bold promise. And to be honest with you, I think we've all heard those types of representations before and said,
especially these days,
a whole lot of BS. But the truth of it is, because I'd known of it and I'd been through the course, I was open to look at it, unlike other people who might hear that for the first time and say nonsense. So for me, I know that the book was the second biggest selling book in the world out of any genre in 2008.
Wow.
You don't get that. You don't get that without being a good book. You know that there's 3,000 books released in the world every day?
Whoa,
multiply
is that
by,
right?
Yeah, multiply that by 365 and you rank number 2. There's got to be some substance in it, right?
Absolutely.
And the book, I bought the second edition back in 2011, about 10 years ago. A third edition came out in 2016. And in the meantime, this illustrated version came out in 2013. And again, if you've got a book that's not selling, why would you be going to a third edition and an illustrated version?
Very true.
And they've got, a whole industry spawned about it across the world. They've got 40 coaches in all countries. I'm the only one in Australia. So it's got traction. If we get an opportunity to dig into detail, hopefully I can demonstrate by a few of the, core strengths of the program, why it's good.
Yep.
I guess one thing just quickly is it's very simple.
Yeah.
And I've always been a great believer in make things as simple as possible, but no simpler. I think that might be Einstein or one of those clever guys.
I haven't heard that one. That's great.
Yeah. And so this is the thing. A lot of people look at this and say it's all common sense. Well, we know what they say about common sense, right? It's not such a common thing. So I know I'm getting into the cliches here, but my point is that it is a lot of common sense. There's a lot of angles to it. There's about 60 different sort of exercises to help get all the good stuff out of you and to apply it in your business. And individually, they're not rocket science.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is it's a very structured approach. And being a finance guy and, more recently a coach and consultant, helping companies systemize is almost the most important thing you could do. Yeah. And last time I think I touched on Michael Gerber and E-Myth, and he talks about this concept of franchise systems. This is a system. That's what it says on the cover of the book. It's not me dreaming up stuff. Michael Port thought it was that important that he put it on his tagline on the cover. So it's a system. You can implement it, put in place processes, and it will continue to run as long as you've got people and processes in the business. It's another system like your CRM and all the other systems we have in a business. So it's not just a few ideas. It's a fully integrated system you can implement and follow day in and day out.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm hearing that more and more these days. The more technology we have, the more software, the more other systems we have, the bigger need for one holistic system that allows us to manage all those other systems in a way. We have to be very strategic and very systemized and logical about how we do our business every day. Otherwise, we can get lost very quickly.
Exactly. And, that's the thing I really like about this is that there's all these different components to it, and they all kind of hang together. And it's going through a whole series of procedures to get the relevant information, document it, and then put in place all these
Beautiful.
processes. And because they're all interlinked, if you miss a step, it's going to be obvious. And as long as you've got controls and people in the process, it works just fine. I use the Book Yourself Solid system in my own business. I'm a solo consultant. And while I don't have a big fancy CRM and all the other things you might associate with a boutique or a bigger consultancy, it works just fine for me.
Beautiful. Well, I mean, let's get into it. I'd love to hear more about, the essence of this book and this system. And also, I'm interested to find out about the third edition that has all the illustrations. Is that to make it even simpler and more engaging?
Well, I'll tell you the background to that. Michael Port was I hope he wouldn't be offended if I said this, a B-grade actor. He did, amongst other things, a few appearances on Sex and the City. And I think he did quite a bit of stuff, but never, a well-known actor.
Yeah.
And I think he realized that he probably wasn't going to make the big time. So he took some time off and he wrote a book, I think a bit like Napoleon Hill, who took 28 years to write a book. I think he took about 3 years to write this book. And he just decided he wanted to support small businesses, although he didn't have a strong background in that. And he came up with, after all this research, this book. So he came out of the first version, then a second version, or second edition. And in the meantime, he went away from Book Yourself Solid and gave it to this guy, Matthew, who's been running it, Matthew Kimberley. And in the interim, he's set up a thing called heroic public speaking, because being an actor, that's his thing. And I think because he's an artistic guy, he teamed up with someone who has created these wonderful diagrams. And this is not meant to be patronizing to the book, but it's almost like a comic. There's these wonderful diagrams, and reading words on a page, if you're not someone who resonates with the written word, I think can be challenging. But even me as a left-brained person, I look at the pictures and it just makes so much sense because it's reinforcing concepts. So I think the written book was 300 pages and the book with the diagrams or the illustrated version is about 450 pages. So there's an extra, 50% devoted to pictures to support. And really, I guess, to remind us, if you see an image, it kind of it acts as a reminder.
I like that. It kind of embeds it into the subconscious more.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, tell us a bit more about how it's broken down and, the system itself.
So the book is broken down into 4 different modules. And the modules are kind of created in a way that the first 3 modules are the one that we work with clients with first. So the first module is all about your foundation. Amongst other things, Michael Port talks about your red velvet rope policy. So only working with the clients who energize you. We've got this thing in Australia, I won't use the rude word, but the no D-heads policy. So, it's that thing, working with clients who energize you rather than those who suck the life out of you. His other thing is, what's your target market? What's the one biggest thing you deliver? What is your, what needs and desires of your clients do you address? And then the final part of that is just how you present the business. So that's, if you like, the 4 components of the foundation. So getting the foundation right, your positioning, your target market, desires and needs, and all of those things that we hear about a lot in getting the business ready for promotion. The second part of it is very much about trust and credibility. Nice. So it's how you engage with clients, the standard professional standards you need. For example, not having a Gmail account for your email, the service that you provide to your clients, and so that's the first part of the trust and credibility. The second part is all around your sales cycle. So, how your sales cycle actually appears, the different entry points into your funnel, if you like, but their funnel is structured slightly differently. And then the other parts of it are all about creating your a communication process using a combination of a CRM and a list building process, and then just how you go out to market. So within each one of these components, and I know I'm rushing through, but there's 16 building blocks in total.
Wow.
The first one's in foundation. The second one is in creating trust and credibility. The third one of the modules is all about perfect pricing and sales conversations.
Nice.
And again, those are regarded as building blocks. So once you've got the foundational modules in place, then you're ready to do your marketing. So, I mean, you probably know this as well as anyone, Darren, is before you start creating the awareness around your marketing messages, you've got to make sure that your foundation's right. So that when people hear about you, they can go and check you out, make sure that your business is structured correctly, that you're credible, and then, if I like the way your business is structured, you've got a good presence in your website and your LinkedIn profile and other places people look, good social proof. And then it's just building up on the trust factor. And it's, how you present in your engagements with these people. And there's exercises and worksheets to support each of these steps.
Right.
So it's not just a book with a whole lot of narrative.
Yeah.
It's very much a how-to book rather than a why book.
Yep.
A why book is, well, why do you do this? This is it's very much a manual of how you would construct a business around the foundation, the trust and credibility, then the pricing and the sales, simple sales conversation. Once you've got all of those elements in place, that's when you start doing the marketing piece. And I think because Book Yourself Solid have got a bit of an aversion to the term marketing, because they know a lot of people hear that term and it turns them cold. They talk about the 6 core self-promotion strategies.
Nice. I like
and
that.
those are in the 4th module. So, I mean, once you've created your foundation and you've started doing your core self-promotion or marketing, as you and I would describe it, you create the awareness and then people come and check you out, but you've got your foundation in place.
Definitely.
Rather than what I think a lot of new people coming to business do is they tend to go out and do the marketing. They don't have a good foundation. They don't know their target market. They don't know their number one offer. They don't know the pain points of their clients. They don't have a good personal program that they offer. They don't have any kind of a CRM. And so the clients that they might attract, and we can buy leads these days, so you don't have to be very schmick. You can just have a pretty website and you can get leads. But it's once they start checking you out, either they're going to be the wrong type of clients because they think they're going to get cheapy, or else they're not going to engage because you're not going to pass the sniff test.
Yeah.
So the idea is, getting all of that basic stuff right first, then creating the awareness through your self-promotion or your marketing. They go and check you out. And if you're passing all these tests, the trust and credibility, and you've got the good foundation and the good pricing, they'll initially engage with you proportionate to the amount of trust you built up. And over time, they might move from, a small group program to a one-on-one engagement, which is kind of my sort of path is, come along to a freebie. I'll show you the introduction, then sign up for a 3-month group program, meeting every fortnight, learning some of the cool stuff out of Book Yourself Solid, and then moving into one-on-one. And once I get to one-on-one, part of it is to refine the Book Yourself Solid, but then, my plan is to continue working with my clients more around the old pair stuff, the strategy and implementation.
Gotcha.
So I know that's a long answer to your question, but in essence, it's got a lot of detail underpinned by 4 modules and 16 building blocks.
Wow. It sounds like a very common sense approach to building a business.
Yes, I think that's a great way to describe it. It's I think Matthew Port describes it a business charading as a love story or something like that.
I like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, being an actor, he comes up with all these cool analogies. I mean, this thing of a velvet rope policy. I think everyone can understand what that is. It's like
Yep.
the old Studio 54.
Yep.
You only get in if you kind of pass. You get on the red carpet.
That's right. That's right. And I love that analogy you used before about making sure that your business is set up from the back end before you start promoting. It's almost like that analogy. You promote and market a new shopping center, but when everybody, or a supermarket, but when everybody arrives, the shelves are empty.
Exactly.
It's like, what's the point?
It's exactly
no
the same
sense.
thing.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same thing. And Darren, unfortunately, there's a lot of people, and I kind of feel a bit sad about this because I regard myself as an honest sort of a guy. When I see people who've got one fancy thing that they promote to clients, and you get people who've maybe received a redundancy and they've been executives in big companies and they've got a whole bunch of money and they come into the consulting space and they go to a networking event and the guy says, oh, I do this thing. And so these people, they're like kids in a candy store. They sign up to something, but it's got no correlation or context to the overall business. So they go and they sign up, they spend a whole lot of money. They don't have anything to show for it. They might attract a few leads. The client has a look at them. They've got no credibility. They haven't got any track record. They haven't worked out their target market and all these other important things. And so they spend all this time spinning their wheels and they don't make any progress. And for me, having a really holistic approach, this is the way you set up. This is how you build your trust and credibility. This is how you price what you do. This is how you have, your free offer, your group offer, your big offer, all of those components of, creating a business that at least as well as me, before you're really ready to market, because you spend a lot of money on marketing. Google ads, how much you can spend a couple of grand a month.
Easy.
And then they come and look at you and there's no substance there. So you've wasted the money. Yeah. So that's the thing, I hate seeing people being burned by marketers who specialize in one thing, but these people who are inexperienced in small business have got no overall perspective. And the better approach, and what I love about Book Yourself Solid is there's a whole systematic approach from start to finish. Build a foundation, build your trust and credibility, get your pricing right, have your sales conversations, and then start spending money on marketing. It's self-promotion. And another thing I really like about, I know I'm rabbiting on here, but one of the key, phrases that they use, or it's one of the foundational stones of Book Yourself Solid, is that marketing doesn't get you clients. Now,
marketing gets you potential clients. It gets you.
It gets you leads and it creates awareness.
Yep, that's it.
But if you don't have a solid foundation, if there's no substance behind what you're offering, when people go and check you out and there's no social proof, they're not going to engage.
No.
That old thing, you've probably heard of the ZMOT, that's the Google thing. It takes 14 touches to get engagement. If a client's going to want to engage with you 7 times or even 14 times as per Google's research, they're going to very quickly work out there's nothing behind there. If they're coming back again and again, and every time they're seeing very little. And that's the thing, unless you build that back office and the framework and the credibility and all the other things we know about the CRM and build a list, you're just going to have spent a bunch of money on marketing but not a lot of substance to support the buying decision.
And there's no substitute for hard work. Good old hard work and preparation with substance. There's no substitute. There's no quick fix. There's no magic silver bullet. There's no special key. There just doesn't exist.
And, I think to your point, a lot of people who might, be in small business for a short time, and I've been in it for 17 years, and I know you've been in it quite a number of years, they see marketing as the panacea for all ills. Just go and spend some money on Google ads and you'll be right. Well, you won't be right because you'll spend a lot of money. The clients will come and look at you and they'll run a mile. And it's a great injustice, I believe, that there are people out there who are happy to take money without giving people a framework. It's like, okay, I can help you with some of that joinery, but we all know that that's not going to lead anywhere. And it
100%.
kind of feels a little bit wrong to me often
Yeah.
when people are charading that they're a certain thing, but it's got no context to where this person needs to be.
Yeah, yeah. And another really common problem, I think, with potential marketing strategies is that as you get a massive influx of prospects or of leads, then at a certain point, sometimes the company and the infrastructure can't support them. They don't have enough staff. They don't have enough systems in place. How does the book help you make sure that you're ready for that?
Well, one of the things that I've learned over the years is that people very, very rarely do stuff on their own.
Mm-hmm.
So I would reckon that if, let's say, over 15 years, conservatively, 5,000 people have had some exposure to Book Yourself Solid.
Yep.
And, people who've worked with a coach, according to research by Book Yourself Solid, of all the people who've used the system in a coaching environment over 15 years, which, they say it's in the thousands, not how many thousands. So let's just say 5,000. 40% on average of those people have achieved, the people who've embraced the system have achieved on average a 40% increase in revenue over 12 months.
Wow.
And it's actually in the book. So I'm not, it's not a figure that's come to the top of my head. And I'm sure Michael Port's a credible guy. I'm sure he can substantiate that.
Yeah.
But the flip side is, how many people do you think read a book and apply it on their own?
Mm-hmm.
I would say very few. Just in my experience, I've read so many books and I've applied some of the thinking, but I've never methodically been through a book, looked at all the resources and done the exercise on my own. So in answer to your question, how does someone implement it? I think if you are very much a person who can see a concept and apply it, and you've got the discipline and the accountability to do that, you're a chance of doing it.
Yeah.
I think what a better chance is to engage with someone, and a certified Book Yourself Solid coach would be a good place to start, because we go through rigorous training. As an example, I don't know if I'm allowed to plug what I'm doing with people, but in the March quarter, I'm offering a fortnightly meeting going for an hour and a half or two if need be. So a minimum of an hour and a half once a fortnight. It's going to be a group session where there's 30 minutes of learning, 45 minutes of a work group, where people are actually doing the work in the Zoom environment.
Yep.
And then sort of 30 minutes to 45, and depending on how long these sessions last, where people can actually work with their peers and compare notes.
Nice.
So it's an environment where people get to do the work in a group environment rather than trying to do it on their own. So I think in answer to your question, I believe that Book Yourself Solid has got a lot of great ideas, and certainly you can cherry pick certain things if you've been in business for a while. I would suggest if you've been in business for a few years, call it 1 or 2, you probably need to look at the entire process. Mm-hmm. And I think those are the type of people, that I'm hoping to engage with into this group program. But I believe that if you got the book and also subscribe to some of the free resources that are available, you'd have all the material to be able to cherry pick and get the exercises to complete and to do certain components of your business. But to apply the whole thinking across your whole business on your own, I think would take something. So I would suggest that probably is more appropriate to work with someone. You might engage a coach, or you might engage a strategist or a good accountant to come and work with you and help you put it in place. But I think a business owner on their own, who's often just your technician, using the Michael Gerber speak, they probably wouldn't have a lot of experience in some of the aspects of it. And I suggest it wouldn't go anywhere. But there's enough material there, I honestly believe it, because it's a how-to, as I said before, and not a why. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of guidance in there and a lot of worked exercises and workbooks to facilitate that process.
So it's very tactical.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It is very tactical. Good word.
Yeah, and I love that. I mean, knowledge is fantastic, but they say applied knowledge is the key. And there's no better way to apply your knowledge than if you have a coach or someone that you're accountable to. over time.
Yes. Yeah. But I mean, I will just reinforce, I'm not here primarily to plug what I do. I'm a believer in the system, and I believe that if someone was very disciplined and they had, a broad knowledge of business, they could buy the book, particularly the illustrated version, and it would take them a long way towards setting up their business, creating that foundation we spoke about, and then being able to market towards it. So I think the book stands alone.
Great.
But being able to apply it and having that discipline, I would say that's something that not a lot of people could accomplish, because we don't have that sort of focus. Most people don't have that sort of detailed discipline and focus.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Now, I'd love to hear your experience of applying this to your business. Maybe give us some insight into that.
Well, look, it will certainly be a pleasure. I mean, one of the things that I've wrestled with for a long time, since I started I was initially a part-time CFO, and I morphed into a virtual CFO, and then I became a financial consultant, and then I started doing some mentoring and coaching and executive coaching.
Yep.
So I've evolved over the years, but one of the things I've really struggled with, because I've largely been a solo consultant, is creating content, creating course material.
Yep.
I mean, Darren, again, you would know, coming up with, good content is very time consuming.
It is.
So what I tend to do is I create some, then I get busy, I get a gig, and I put it on the side, and then I come back and I pick it up again, and I continue developing it. What I really like for me is that Book Yourself Solid has got all the resources I'm ever going to need. I was speaking to the guy, Matthew, who's the driving force behind Book Yourself Solid in, spreading the word around the world. I said to him, I really do struggle with this thing of creating content and putting together a training course. I think I could do it, but I'd have to do that as my sole activity, probably for the best part of 6 months. And then, how do I live in the meantime?
Yeah.
So he said to me, if the content resonates with you, there is enough stuff here in the book and the resources you get as a certified coach to be able to support you for the rest of your life. Wow. It's just, any amount of stuff. There's a whole industry spawned around Book Yourself Solid. Yep. So the great thing for me is that it's got some visibility. It's a well-regarded system. All the resources are there. And all remains for me to do is to put my own spin on it. So I can cut and paste. It's not fully white labeled, but I'm all into attributing content. So I can use all of the material. I had a 150 slide deck to put together for a presentation I did this morning, and I took out 15 of the best slides because it was an introduction, a high level cover. Now, if I would have created those slides, it would have taken me days, if not weeks. Yeah. But I've got great content which resonates. It's worked in my business, and I'm now applying that because I've got access to it as a certified coach. And because I've embraced it in learning the system initially in that 6-week course, applying it to my old pair planning, and then seeing how powerful it is by doing all of the things I spoke about, creating the foundation, I'm now able to use my experience in applying, that target market and all the other assessments from the worksheets. I've applied in my own business. My own revenue's gone up by at least 40% since June, in a difficult environment. Yeah. I now want to use those learnings to help my clients. And it's not going to be my only thing, but one of the biggest issues for a lot of clients is when I start working with them, they haven't got any money. So for me, this is like the solution. It's like, I'll help you, fill your order book. We'll start generating generating more revenue. If we can increase your revenue by 40% over 12 months, during that period, we can start working on that other stuff, working on your business, your strategy, your implementation, your 90-day plans, and all the other stuff that is important to, getting your business off the ground. So the marketing and the foundation we're talking about is very much around about, creating awareness of your business, but you then have to, create the operational side of your business, which includes, your strategy, your 90-day plans, your budgets, your forecasts, and all that other good stuff that I help my clients with. But you've got to be able to get the revenue flowing first. And it's a big lament of my clients. It's like, yeah, we'd love to engage you, but we haven't got any money. Well, I now say, well, I got a system to help you get money, because we'll increase your revenue by 40% over 12 months. And once, you know, the money starts flowing and you start getting the clients, we can start doing the other stuff. So it kind of, in many ways, hangs together.
Yeah, it's a three-dimensional, holistic approach.
Yeah.
And can you give us some insight into maybe the costs involved, or how clients can engage with you?
Yeah. So, Darren, I mentioned before, again, I just do a bit of a plug. I'm running free introduction to Book Yourself Solid webinar briefings on Zoom every Tuesday at noon from 12 to 12:45. So it's a 45-minute thing. It's not very invasive on your time, and it is really a high-level overview of the things I spoke about before. And then for anyone who comes along and likes what they see, they can obviously either choose to buy the book and do it on their own, or else sign up. So I'm offering a group program, which is very much geared towards, in the first instance, focusing on the foundation, the first of the modules, which in my view represents probably 50% of the hard work, getting that foundational piece right. So I'll be offering fortnightly sessions of between 1.5 and 2 hours, depending on how much work people get through and how many I have in the course. I'm going to be keeping it quite discreet. I want to cap it out at 10 people. Nice. But I'm very happy to run the course if I've got fewer than that, because this is going to be my first course running it as a group. I've done some work with Book Yourself Solid with one-on-one, but I see that there's so many opportunities for people to come along, attend a course, do 30 minutes of training where I run through some of the material. We're then going to spend 45 minutes where they work on their own. It's in a workshop environment as opposed to a teaching environment. And then there'll be an opportunity at the end for half an hour to 45 minutes of the peer-to-peer learning. So it's a combination of a bit of that sort of mastermind sharing environment, them doing the work so that they don't have to rely on homework as you tend to get from a coach. They can do it every fortnight in this group environment, and upfront in each session, they're going to learn. So in terms of what's involved, I'm going to be charging people $500 per month over a 3-month period, and they will get a lot of documentation done. But because I want to encourage people to sign up for the 3 months, I'm offering a price of $997 for the 3-month program paid up front, as opposed to equivalent of $1,500 if you pay it monthly. And that's just in recognition that people who pay monthly see that as a bit of an escape net. And I often find people aren't properly invested if they see it as a month-to-month thing. Really, in any coaching, mentoring environment, I think if you don't give it at least 3 months, and probably more likely 6 months, you're kidding yourself that you're going to get a meaningful outcome. So it takes time. So for me to encourage people to sign up for the full 3 months at a time, it's more about sign up for 3 months, you get a huge discount, and we create a group. And what I will say is, with great respect to people who maybe have difficulty with others, but I'm going to be very rigorous about screening people coming to this course, because we know that old saying, chain is only as strong as the weakest link. I can't afford to have any bad apples, because it destroys the dynamic of a group like this. So, I'm going to be asking people, very direct questions on how they, see themselves working in this environment, because I want everyone who might be interested to know that they're going to be like-minded people who've got similar values and who respect the opinions of others and don't just want to keep talking.
Fantastic. And does it come with any sort of guarantee or any?
Well, that's a good question. What I would say is the best I can do is represent that statistic of a 40% increase in revenue. Darren, I see this as a done by you course, if you've heard that terminology. If you want to engage me as a consultant, I'll probably be prepared to give you a guarantee, but it's going to cost you probably 10 grand a month.
Right.
So, done for you, it's easier to give guarantees. All I would say is that the statistics support that if you do the work, you are more than likely to get a 40% uplift in your revenue in 12 months.
Wow.
I can't give you a guarantee because you're doing the work. If you don't do the work, I can't give you a guarantee.
True. True.
So yeah, there's an element of trust, and the worst you can do is find out after a month that I'm really not the real deal, and I'll happily refund the money if someone wants to withdraw within a month. It's on the record.
True. And that's it's a very cost-effective way to really learn a new business system and a new way of building a business, a healthy business. So the barrier to entry is not high.
Yes.
And I think that's and it does come, of course, with the understanding that people need to do the work, and they also need a little bit of patience.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't expect miracles in 1 week.
Yeah, and Darren, just confirming, giving people a workroom or a workshop environment to do the work overcomes this lament that I hear that only 30% of consulting gigs get an outcome. The other 70% don't happen, and I think a lot of that is to do with the fact that people just don't do the work. And by creating an environment where people are sat in the work in the Zoom room and they're doing the work in silence, knowing that there's other people there, they can see the other people. If someone wants to ask me a question, I'll take them off to a side room and we can have a conversation so we don't disturb people's train of thoughts. But people are in an environment, it's like being in a classroom. So they've got an opportunity to work on their business in this group environment. So, I'm giving up quite a lot of my time. I mean, if these sessions go for 2 hours, now there's people are getting 4 hours a month times 3, and, providing a whole bunch of resources. That's good value for money. I can tell you, you go out there and do some one-on-one coaching, you're not getting any change from $1,500 a month for 2 sessions. So this is 6 sessions. And you're in a 2 hours at a time, and you're also learning from your peers, which is very powerful.
It's very powerful.
Yeah.
It's very synergistic, and it's amazing what you can learn when you have a group of like-minded people in the room together. There's such a compounded effect, a knock-on effect from that. You can't even put a price on that.
And my biggest challenge in that, as I mentioned before, and what you just said, is getting the right people into the room so that you've got the synergies you talk about, and that people can share freely and not be criticized, and that we can respect each other's confidentiality and all those other things.
Fantastic. And starting off to offer this in Sydney, you intend to start offering this interstate as well, or?
Well, I mean, Darren, one of the great benefits, and I don't know how many there've been of COVID, is that everyone is somewhat proficient with Zoom, I would say. So I'm going to be doing all of this online.
Okay.
The truth of it is, these online platforms like Zoom, and there are others, GoToMeeting and the like, is that you can screen share. So, if you're going to be doing a presentation, it's a lot easier to screen share and look at, information that way, rather than, to have to take a projector and a whiteboard and all that stuff. So in a classroom environment, unless I go out and hire a meeting room every second week, and then people have to travel. So, Zoom has really allowed people to do this type of workshop in a very time-efficient way. Definitely. So anyone in Australia or in the world can jump on, as long as they are happy with the Australian time zone. So it will be, based around Australian morning, sort of lunchtime-ish.
And the beautiful thing about Zoom is you have the breakout rooms.
Exactly.
So it's unbelievable, the technology, what it has allowed us to do.
Yeah, and the thing is, for a 2-hour session, you think of people coming to a central location. In Sydney particularly, there's every chance that most people would be spending an hour each way to get there.
Yeah.
And, there we go. So we've got a 2-hour travel for 2 hours of time. A lot of people will look at that and say, I can't afford it. But, 2 hours twice a month is 4 hours total. That becomes a lot more acceptable, because people put value on their time.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's a new world now. I mean,
it is. And Zoom has certainly helped the likes of you and I.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Peter, that's fantastic. I mean, sounds like a phenomenal program and a phenomenal book. And I wish you the best of luck with that. So anybody that wants to actually get in touch with you to find out more and how to get onto your sessions and find out more about the book and the program, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, Darren, my email address is quite easy. It's Peter Crewe-Brown. That's Crewe brown.com.
Perfect.
Or, call me 0408 492 054. If you want to check me out, again, Peter Crewe-Brown, CREWE-Brown. You'll find me on LinkedIn. Very happy to join. And if I can just give one final mention,
Sure.
I'm running these free introduction to Book Yourself Solid sessions on Zoom every Tuesday at noon, 45 minutes. So it's not a big invasion on your time. Come along, check me out, have a look at the system, see if you like it, and then make a decision after that.
Fantastic. Well, I'm coming along next week. I'm looking forward to it and hearing about it more.
I look forward to it, and I
Absolutely.
appreciate your support.
Fantastic. Well, Peter, thank you again. Been an absolute pleasure. You always provide an incredible amount of value. So I hope the audience has enjoyed this as much as I have. Anything else you want to leave us with before we finish up?
Well, just one thing. I would strongly recommend anyone who likes what I've said, but who doesn't feel for whatever reason they want to be involved. I'm a great believer. Here's the book. It's called Book Yourself Solid. It's the illustrated version. You'll see the pretty picture. It's 450 pages of really informative stuff. I would encourage you, if you liked what I've said and if some bits are missing, please reach out to me or go and check it out on Google. There's so much free stuff on Google around it, but it's a great resource for any business owner.
Fantastic. Well, Peter, thank you again. Really appreciate you coming in. Always an honor, always a pleasure. And for everybody out there, I'm going to put all the details in the show notes and all the links. I'm going to make sure that I get those from Peter after the show as well. So feel free to check them out. Sounds like a fantastic book, a fantastic system. And I look forward to checking out the meeting next week on Tuesday as well.
Thanks again for having me, Darren.
My pleasure. So everybody have a great day, and we'll see you very, very soon for another episode. Bye for now.